Okay, thanks very much. I'm going to say a few words, and because LSE is very close to me, and I was very happy to say yes to Chieh and Min Shen about a few weeks ago, and for three reasons. Because I'm an alma mater of LSE, and I was a student there like you from 1978 to 1981. That is 42 or 43 years ago in this famous School of Economics. And the second reason I want to be here, because two of our leading IFOA actuaries who have been acting with incredible courage, capability, and judgment in response to the greatest global crisis, certainly of my lifetime. And I want to tell you a short story about how we met. And lastly, as the IFOA president, I want to update you in a very short manner about exciting developments within the profession and also the IFOA in order to secure our future by being relevant, influential, and impactful in the places where we work, but also in the industry where we work, and in the society we live in, and of course that will be expanded further in a seminar which I've agreed to give on November the 12th. So firstly on LSE, many of you know that I grew up in Malaysia, went to a school called Kajang High School, and I was encouraged to consider actuarial science by my maths teacher in 1975, and that is 46 years ago. But it was not straightforward because there was so little known about actuarial science in Malaysia at that time. I had to go to Kuala Lumpur, which is about 20 miles away, and you're not quite sure the reference books would have references on actuarial science. And if you write to the then Institute of Actuaries, it would take about 3 or 4 weeks for them to get back to you, and they do write back. And I was also discouraged by a career advisor at a time in Taylor's College who thought that that would be an unrealistic goal for me. But in any case, I persevered and I was very fortunate to be accepted in LSE. At that time, there was no Actuarial Student Society, but there was a very active Malaysian and Singaporean society. But living in London and LSE was a challenge, but also an adventure. A challenge because I grew up in a very small and rural town called Semangay. And I do not know many of the British and the very cosmopolitan ways of a large global and a Western city. But I learned a great deal when I was there, and not only academically, but more on the politics, student politics, and also about the people I met. And I have only one regret, that I should have networked more widely with the people from all over the world, and not just with Malaysians and Singaporeans, and keep those contacts more systematically and more closely with me. And you may want to consider doing that yourself in the next year, 2 or 3 years. Then on my second remark about Stuart and Matthew, Stuart McDonald and Matthew Edwards. And that's the second reason why I want to speak to you tonight, because I want to give you a bit of a background. I have not actually met them in person. I've not met them. And you can read their CV. Stuart is from Lloyds Bank, and Matthew Edwards is from Willie Towers Watson. But we got together, I think together, 3 of us plus another group on May the 10th, on March the 10th, which is a Tuesday. And we really communicated through WhatsApp in the weekend of March 7 and 8. And that was a very important weekend because the epicenter of the COVID-19 crisis was moving from Wuhan, China, to Lombardy in Italy, Europe. And Italy was beginning to close down, and Spain, and eventually England. And that week was the week when there was also an OPEC crisis where Russia retaliated and OPEC reduced prices. So it was that dramatic weekend that I contacted a few actuaries, Joseph Lu, who's a Malaysian from Legal and General, who introduced to me an epidemiologist. I also contacted Nicolas Olivier, who was in our institute website. But more importantly, someone said that I should contact Stuart, because Stuart was Twittering. Yes, Stuart is an active social media person and you should follow him. And he was very active in his Twitter, and he was painting a picture of the odds of meeting a person with COVID-19 in London and UK. And the odds are increasing to from 1 to 10 to 1 to 5 to 1 to 2 by June or July. And I was looking at similar conclusions by looking at the statistics from Wuhan, because the reproductive rate at that time was about 2, at that time. And I wanted someone to check my figures. But when I met Stuart on WhatsApp, or when we talked on the phone, we quickly agreed that we should form a group. And as a result, COVID-19 Actuaries Response Group was formed. And it is a remarkable group, because they are still meeting 6-7 months later, weekly, and I think they have published something like 60 bulletins or maybe even more. The articles have appeared in Wall Street Journal, The Spectator magazine, insurance publications in the UK and South Africa, and Stuart himself was only last week featured in a BBC program called More and Less. And the work they did with great passion, professionalism, and commitment. And the distinction I want to make is that actuaries have always been very careful, very accurate, and very consistent, and sometimes a bit reticent, because that's our nature. And that has served us well in the past. And it will continue to serve us well into the future. But with the coming of the digital revolution and the fourth industrial revolution, where things are changing very rapidly, and with the kind of uncertainties we are seeing as a result of COVID-19 and also climate risk, sustainability issues of every kind, whether it's health security or income inequality, we need new skill sets, and more importantly, we need new mindsets. And those mindsets are about courage, about imagination, about curiosity. It is about continuous learning, and it's about adaptability. And the IFOA and the profession are embracing not just new skill sets, but new mindsets. And I thought that COVID-19 Actuaries Response Group displayed all the quintessential values we had about accuracy and about consistency, but also many of the elements of the new mindset in applying our knowledge and mathematical techniques into a very different domain, fraught with a lot of uncertainty. And that's the world we live in. And that brings me to the third topic, which is about, and many of you are students considering your career. I can only say a very few words about this, that it is an exciting time, in my view, to be an actuary, because IFOA has a new strategy and the profession is going through great change, as in all professions, whether they are accountant, medicine, journalism, statistician, because of digital and the fourth industrial revolution. But more importantly, the new inflection points we are going through, the world is shaken to its core because of COVID-19, not because of just mortality and morbidity, but it also unmasks the inequality and also the climate issues we face. So the world is becoming less sustainable, and actuaries are concerned about sustainability because we believe in the soundness of our risk models. And I cannot give you too much information now because it's just an opening remark. But on November the 12th, which was not advertised just now, I agreed with the LSE that we will do a seminar concerning this. If you love mathematics, which many of you do, and you like to pursue a career in a practical setting involving people, involving financial modeling, involving risk, it is worth considering, especially at this time. it's not about skill sets, it's about mindset. Mindset so that you can go into new skill sets and work in new domains. Yeah. So I would talk more about that on the November 12th. So with that, I bid your the best wishes in today's proceedings. You only remind me of my time in LSE some 40 odd years ago, and have a great start to a great journey, which is going to unfold in the next 40 to 80 years, because you live that long. You live that long, yeah, to that time. So with that, I close my opening remarks, and thank you for your kind attention and for inviting me.